What happens when a group of tough bikers laughs at a teenage girl because of her old, worn-out jacket? They thought she didn't belong among them. But everything changed the moment they noticed a mysterious patch on her back. Within seconds, the laughter stopped, the crowd fell silent, and a powerful story from the past came rushing back. Who was this girl? And why did one small patch earn the respect of every biker around her? Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming and inspiring stories. Now sit back, relax, and let's get started. The summer sun was beginning to set over the highways leading into Sturgis, South Dakota. Motorcycle engines echoed through the air as riders from across the country gathered for one of the biggest biker rallies in America. At a popular roadside diner just outside town, a group of veteran bikers occupied several tables on the outdoor patio. Their leather vests were covered with patches collected over decades of riding. Every patch represented a story, a challenge, or a brotherhood earned on the open road. The men laughed loudly as they shared old memories. Some talked about cross-country rides, while others recalled wild adventures from rallies years ago. Their motorcycles, polished and powerful, lined the parking lot like a display of experience and pride. Then an unusual sound caught their attention. An old motorcycle slowly rolled into the parking lot. Unlike the expensive bikes surrounding it, this one looked worn and weathered. The paint was faded and the chrome showed signs of age. Riding it was a teenage girl who appeared completely out of place among the seasoned bikers. She parked carefully near the edge of the lot and removed her helmet. Her jacket looked even older than the motorcycle. It was oversized, faded by years of use, and stitched together in places where the material had worn thin. A few bikers exchanged amused looks. "Looks like somebody took a wrong turn on the way to school," one rider joked. The others laughed. Another biker smirked and said, "I hope she knows this isn't a beginner riding class." More laughter followed. The teenage girl heard every word, but she didn't react. She simply slung a small backpack over her shoulder and started walking toward the diner entrance. Her calm confidence only made some of the riders more curious. Most young people in that situation would have looked nervous or embarrassed. She didn't. She carried herself with quiet determination, as if she belonged there. Just as she reached the door, one of the older bikers noticed something on the back of her jacket, a patch. At first glance, it seemed ordinary. But then he leaned forward and narrowed his eyes. The design looked familiar. "Hold on," he muttered. Another biker turned to look. His smile disappeared instantly. Within seconds, several riders were staring at the patch in complete silence. The laughter stopped. The teasing ended. The atmosphere changed so quickly that even the younger bikers noticed something was wrong. The patch carried the emblem of a legendary motorcycle club known across the United States. Beneath the emblem was a name that every experienced rider in the parking lot recognized immediately. A name they had not forgotten. And the moment they saw it, they realized the teenage girl was not who they thought she was. And realizing that Emily had inherited more than her father's jacket and motorcycle. She had inherited his courage as well. By the time the stories ended, the afternoon sun was beginning to sink behind the hills outside Sturgis. The diner that had once been filled with laughter and teasing now felt completely different. Emily sat quietly, holding back tears as she processed everything she had heard. For years, she had known her father only through old photographs, newspaper clippings, and a handful of memories from childhood. But today, she had learned who he really was. Through the voices of the riders around her, Daniel Carter became more than a picture on a wall. He became a living memory. As the group prepared to leave for the rally grounds, Frank stood up and cleared his throat. "Before we go," he said, "there's something we need to do." The bikers exchanged knowing looks. Everyone followed Frank outside into the parking lot. The sound of motorcycles starting up echoed across the highway. Riders from nearby tables noticed the gathering and joined in, curious about what was happening. Emily stood beside her father's motorcycle, confused. Frank opened one of his saddlebags and removed a small wooden box. Inside was a special commemorative patch reserved only for riders who had made an extraordinary impact on the motorcycle community. "We've carried this patch for years," Frank said. Nobody thought we'd ever know who should receive it. He stepped closer and handed it to Emily. Your father earned this long ago. Today we're giving it to his family. Emily stared at the patch in disbelief. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she carefully held it in her hands. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything, another biker replied. Just know your father meant something to a lot of people. Suddenly, dozens of riders removed their helmets and bowed their heads for a moment of silence. The parking lot became completely still even. The rumble of engines seemed to fade as everyone honored the memory of Daniel Carter. After a minute, Frank looked toward Emily. There's one more thing. He pointed toward the highway. Every motorcycle in the parking lot had formed two lines stretching toward the road. You came here alone, Frank said with a smile. But you're not riding into Sturgis alone. Emily looked around in shock. More than 50 bikers had volunteered to escort her. Some had known her father personally. Others only knew his story. Yet every single one wanted to honor his legacy. Frank climbed onto his motorcycle and motioned for Emily to take the lead. The teenage girl hesitated for a moment before starting her father's bike. The familiar engine roared to life as she slowly pulled onto the highway. Dozens of motorcycles followed behind her. People standing along the roadside watched in amazement as the massive procession rolled toward the rally grounds. Many assumed Emily was some important guest of honor. In a way, she was. For miles, the riders stayed behind her, protecting and supporting her just as her father had once protected riders across the country. When they finally reached the rally entrance, hundreds of bikers were waiting. Word of Daniel Carter's daughter had spread quickly. The crowd erupted into applause. Emily stopped her motorcycle and looked around in disbelief. Strangers were cheering for a man they had never forgotten. At that moment, she realized something powerful. Legends do not live forever because of fame or money. They live forever because of the lives they touch. Her father had spent his life helping others without expecting anything in return. Years after his death, those acts of kindness were still inspiring people. As the crowd continued applauding, Emily looked down at the old jacket she was wearing. Earlier that day, people had laughed at it. Now, everyone understood what it truly represented. It wasn't just an old jacket. It was a symbol of courage, respect, loyalty, and a legacy that would never fade. And from that day forward, whenever riders spoke about Daniel Carter, they also spoke about the brave teenage girl who carried his story back onto the open road.